Kia ora, good afternoon. So I was actually just sitting here having a conversation with someone, and I thought this is something that would be worthy of a wee podcast, I think, because it's something that anybody who is on an ascending path um, is going to completely, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. And for people who have maybe just come out of the underworld or who are still in it, you need to know why you need to work your ass off to get up out of there and get the hell out. Because it's like, I made a joke to my friend, and it was a tasteless joke. It wasn't offensive. There was no bad language or anything like that. It was just a little bit dark. Which he would like he gets it. He does. But like for me, I'm a reverend, and I'm supposed to be mastering my virtues and teaching other people how to master their virtues and stuff. And this was kind of teetering on the edge of jealousy, but in a playful way. And then I said, I hope you know I'm only joking, because like I don't want to go there again. Like I don't want to do something that gets me into so much trouble where I have to go back down into the underworld, because like when you go down there, and because the thing is, in your life, you're going to have many, 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 many trips to the underworld. Every time you lose your temper, every time you're heartbroken, every time you're sad, every time you're fearful or anxious, anything on the negative side of, being happy and balanced and calm and, at peace and all of that, the complete opposite of that, all those feelings you get, like we're going to go through that a million times in our life, but you only take a trip to hell once in your life if you're on an ascending path, and babies, you you don't forget it when you're down there. And you do everything you can to make sure you never go down there again. So I was only joking, but obviously this is my confession. I'm confessing out loud. So typical Catholic, eh? That must still be the Catholic in me, needing to confess, like needing to be honest, needing to come up out with things. That's how my marriage ended, because I confessed to something that I'd said, because I can't lie. But when I was a kid, I used to lie all the time. Like I was overly dramatic. I understand it now, because my mum used to do it too. And I always used to say, oh, it's because she's bored. But with me, I think it was because I was the baby of 7. So there was 9 in my family. I was 7 when I first became an auntie. And then 9 when my girl Amber was born, and her and I were cemented for life. So, and then, once all the other kids came along, anyway, sorry, I got distracted by the plane went flying overhead. Yeah, so once I became an auntie in that, it was all very much about, what about me? Like, hello, I'm here, sort of thing. And I think I used to tell porkies to get attention. I recognise that now. And then, of course, what happened later on when I had my ascension was everybody lied on my name. Everybody, like, turned on me. And I was like, that's why I went through what I went through, because of what I was doing when I was a kid. Now, the thing is, what you need to understand is when you commit cardinal sins, lying, cheating, stealing, like anything like that as a kid, we've all stolen candies, we've all, stolen money we shouldn't have, or like we've all taken things that we shouldn't have in some context or another. Like, see, when I, oh God, oh Father, when I was a kid in Woolworths supermarkets, like Walmart, basically, but you didn't buy groceries. Later on, it became Decker, which is like hmm, same thing. It was like, clothing and CDs and, like a department store. The British will know what I'm talking about because they had Woolworths here. And in New Zealand, but in Australia, it's like a supermarket thing, I think. So um, they used to have these big barrels of where you could fill your own pick and mix, like Rose's chocolates, Quality Street or Heroes, Rose's chocolates, the toffee ones, and and of course, oh God, so as you'd walk past and you'd grab one. And then of course later on, when I was having my ascension, everybody stole from me. So this is what you need to understand: the bad things that happen to you as an adult can come from things that you've done as a child. Now, you might not have been punished for them as a child because you're a child, but God will wait, or the universe, or, the atomic frequency of the atom that needs to be just at the right vibration in order to be able to evolve us just that little bit further. It has to balance out at some point. And because God's timing is perfect timing, and divine timing, karmic timing is pinpoint, accurate, perfect timing, it will come back and get you at just the right time. And the thing is, once you figure all of this out, now, I had to go first because Father knew that I was going to turn this into a science that was going to help a lot of people around the world figure some shit out about themselves really fast. Because the thing is, one of the things I learned when I was locked up is there were a lot of women in there who basically just needed a kick up the arse. And I don't mean that in a violent way, settle down. What I mean is they just needed to be like corrected for their bad behaviour. They were acting like spoiled brats. And they took all the time and attention away from the ones that really needed the help, like the ones that were there for self-harming and that. I sat down and I interviewed all the girls because I wanted to understand why people self-harm. I thought it might help later on because there is a big issue with teenagers in that. Now, this is the thing, is that when you've got teenagers who are creative, empathic, high-functioning geniuses in that, they have a really hard time expressing their pain. I could not understand where these girls were coming from whatsoever, because they were saying, like, when I was interviewing them, they were saying, like, you can talk and talk and ask for help, but it doesn't always stop that screaming in your head that's in so much pain. It just has to let it out somehow. And I was like, but, like, doesn't it hurt? And they said, no, it's like, it like that pain releases something in them. And it was so sad because it was like these were really loving, beautiful, every single one of them that were self-harmers were really lovely, soft, gentle, sweet, quiet, very talented, very creative women. And they had all that pain in them that was coming out in the form of self-harming. And there was one girl there that was just like head to toe scars, like head to toe. It was really freaky too, because I was lying in my room one night and I heard an owl, and I said out loud, oh, someone's gonna die. And then I went, oh no, hang on. I said, are they gonna die? I said, no, I don't think they are gonna die. And then the next morning, we found out that she'd, like, you know, done a pretty bad deal on herself and had to go to hospital. She was in there a while, and when she came back, she was like wrapped up in bandages and that. And hers was all to do with abandonment issues from her mum. She told her story. She said, I was basically like the product of rape, and my mother didn't want me, and blah blah blah, you know, and she just wanted to be loved by a mum. But what people need to understand is that's you in the underworld. That is you starting to experience living hell. And all you need to do to stop the pain is to either figure out or understand or admit to why you're hurting. Once I figured out that everything I'd gone through was because of this, and this, but amplified 10 gajillion times. Because the thing is that when you go through your ascension and, you know, you have to go through your trial by fire, it will be when you're at your most innocent, and that's what seems so unfair about it. Like, you've genuinely done incredible things with yourself, with your life, with your career, or, you know, whatever. You know, you're at a really good place when you're genuinely happy and innocent, and, you know, you're getting ready to step out that door to make big changes in your life, and then boom, that tower comes and that ascension starts, and you have to hit the ground before you bounce back up. And when you hit the ground hard, but it's so that you never forget it, so that you don't ever make the choices of being around the wrong kind of people. Because what you need to understand is all the things that you did wrong as a child are not your fault. You are the product of your environment. You become the person you are as an adult because of the people who raised you. And your school and your society helped raise you. So you need to take a long, hard look at yourself and be honest and say, I came from an abusive childhood. It wasn't just my mum, like, you know, because one of the things that I learned when I was locked up is that there's many forms of domestic abuse. Because when the lawyer told me I was a victim of domestic abuse, I was like, wait, what? I said, domestic abuse? And she goes, yeah. She said, well, obviously, she said, you were sexually abused, you were financially abused, you were mentally abused, you were emotionally abused. She said, that's domestic violence, that's domestic abuse. And I was like, really? Because I always thought domestic abuse was, you know, hitting in that. I grew up, I watched my sisters be in abusive relationships. None of my men ever hit me, because I think that it probably would have gotten to the point where they'd hit me one last time and they'd never hit me again, and I'd end up in prison. And I'm better than that. Which is why I had to confess my sin about telling the joke. Because I'm better than that. Like, I was joking, and it was like 1% jealousy. It's just because, like, I don't share. Anyway, anywho, so take a long, hard look at yourself and say, why does this hurt so much? And then, like, even if you kind of stray off the path a little bit, you will get back to the right path eventually, and eventually you will figure it out. The only person that knows you better than you is your own psychological mind. Because you've got to remember that logic, doubt, and reason and compromise And like awareness of the senses, and that all come from your psychological mind. So, it's your conscious mind that says, don't get in that car, don't get in that car, don't get in that car. But it's your psychological mind that goes, oh, but he seems really nice. And, what if he really has lost his dog? Or, because logic, doubt, reason, right? And compromise. So, or run. And you book it because your higher self like rings that alarm, and your psychological mind goes, you got to get out of here, leg it, sort of thing. So take that corner, go there, no, don't go under here, go under there, sort of thing. Once your psychological mind comes into perfect alignment with your conscious mind in order to save you from something, it's undeniable. That instinct kicks in, and before you know it, you've jumped the fence and run across the water. I've done that. I've done that. I ran away from a hammerhead shark, and I swear to God, I ran on water. I'm not even joking. I don't even know how I got out of the water that fast, but the thing was, I forgot that I was in the beach with my my niece Amber, my best friend, the one I was telling you about, and I left her in the water. And she went to school the next day for show and tell, and said my auntie Debbie left me to get eaten by a shark. I felt so bad. Oh my God. But the thing is like your intuition and your instinct work in perfect alignment when what you're feeling and what you're thinking makes your body react. So when you're thinking about stuff and it's like, could it be because of that happened when I was a kid? Or no, I know when it happened. It was, after I broke up with blah, or, when my parents did this, or when yada yada, blah, blah, blah. And then when it feels right, when you're like, that's it, that's the root cause, or that's the start of it, like you physically feel it, you'll get like a reaction, either like from like your nose to maybe your chin, or your nose to like the middle of your throat, sort of where your collarbone meets at the bottom of your throat, at the the very top of where your sternum begins, like sort of in there where they put the tubes, if they have to put tubes in your throat, like your larynx, that kind of area. So you'll feel it from your nose to there, or you'll feel it like directly in your gut, and it will spread out sort of like to your lower pelvic area, but it's like a real quick sort of like burst, like an electric shock, like your when you're onto something, when your intuition goes ding, your body reacts to it without you even knowing you've done it. It's how cops in that can tell that you're lying, because when you're talking, see, because the brain can't lie, and you have to force the brain to lie. And it's very showing on the body, because the brain knows it's lying, and then it gets nervous, and then the central nervous system kicks in, and then your body will start doing involuntary movements that you have no control over, and some of them will be micro movements, like where you won't even know you're doing it, but someone looking at you will just see that little twitch like in the corner of your mouth, that will know she's getting nervous, or she's getting ready to like shut her mouth, or that sort of thing. So pay attention to how your body reacts to what it is you're thinking about, and then you have to have the presence of mind to allow yourself to express the pain and the sorrow in a healthy way. So if you need to cry, cry. If you've got to like just tuck yourself in bed for a couple of days and just cry and just do nothing and let it all out, just do it, because it's healing you. And you can't hold any of that emotion in. It's not healthy. It starts to wear on the body, and it weighs you down, and then you end up getting sick and looking 60 when you're 35 and all that, So you've got to let it out. If you're angry and you need to punch something, punch a pillow, or go to the gym and hit a punching bag, or go and hit some golf balls, or something like that. Do something to let it out. When you're angry, that energy has to go somewhere. It is kinetic in force, and it needs to leave your body, but it needs to do it in a healthy, constructive way. Um, Otherwise, it turns into poltergeist activity, and you'll have things like knocking on walls and throwing voices and footsteps and things flying off shelves and stuff. And that's when it turns into a mess, because then you think you're haunted, and then you get the bloody psychics and mediums coming in, or you watch those stupid shows where you're not being taught the correct information, and it drives me up the wall, which is why I started doing my blog in the first place. It's why I ended up becoming an occult scientist, because like the information out there in regards to the paranormal and the supernatural is like the distance between utter nonsense and just made up lies to absolute bang on scientifically proven to be correct, like difference between oil and vinegar. Some of the stuff that's out there that people believe to be true, like it's really unhealthy, man. It's like you have to wonder why people feel the need to believe in that sort of stuff when they know it's unhealthy. Well, I mean, I know why. I mean, when it comes to like morbidity, like the morbid side of life and death, I guess it's because it's like a survival mechanism. Um, if the brain can understand why that happened, then the brain will message the person's psychological mind to say, don't ever put yourself in that situation. Like it's a it's it's a instinctual need for us to understand our own mortality in order to prevent it happening sooner than we want it to, basically, is why people have a morbid fascination with things. But when it comes to the paranormal and the occult and that, I mean, there's just some ridiculous nonsense out there, and it's embarrassing, because the thing is that in 100 years' time, when everybody is teaching, when everybody knows what I'm teaching, because they're like, God, that makes so much sense, sort of thing. When everybody's thinking like that, and then like the second there's any paranormal activity, the first thing they do is evaluate. Okay, am I stressed, or is there someone in the house stressed? And and they can figure it all out. It's like there's so many people out there that are teaching stuff that is really, really dangerous and unhealthy, like criminal even, because there's people out there that will pay all this money to be guided in the right direction, when there's people like me who are pretty much going to be doing it for free. And I'm a scientist. I turned it into a science, so I know what I'm talking about. And the thing is, people are in such a state of panic and fear at the moment, but you would need to understand it's because we are fighting a God's honest holy war. We are literally, there is a fight between good and evil going on in the world, and there are very, very few people on the good side. I saw someone put a message up on X today to say, I can't take this anymore. Why do all the evil people win? It's because there's more of them, so they have more of each other's backs. And then you get countries like Russia, where that, God, I love him. That man, he's just like a beacon of light. He's like the biggest ray of sunshine, that man, shining right over Russia. Like, my God, does he have that country's back? And he's got so many other people's backs as well. It's like everybody goes to Russia. Like, when something needs done, they put all that pressure on him. They put all that burden on him. And it's like, who's there for him? I am. I'm there for him. I'm watching over him. Because, like, people don't understand how special he is to the fight for worldwide justice. There are people having all these opinions about him on social media, and I can guarantee you not one of them has even tried to learn about that man. But it's kind of like since Trump got in, there's like this changing tide where Trump was once the golden child and Vladdy was the baddie. Vladdy the baddie. Oh my god. That's so adorable. It's like the tides are turning, and now Trump's looking like the baddie, and people are like, hang on a minute. I think maybe the media might have been lying to us about him. Like, I watched that, and people keep raving about that interview that Tucker Carlson did. I mean, it was an absolute brilliant interview. I even tweeted Tucker Carlson to thank him, to say just like that was incredible. He's a good man, that Tucker Carlson. He saw sense, didn't he? So the thing is that there's very few good people like that out there. But what is fascinating is the ones that are on the good side jumped ship. You know, they were on Donald, you know, like they're seeing the truth about Donald Trump, and they're starting to do the right thing and speak out and stand against him, and it's absolutely beautiful to see, because it means that people are waking up, and they're the ones that we need on our side, are the ones that are waking up and doing something about it. Like that, I wasn't a fan of hers, I got to be honest, that Marjorie Taylor Greene and Thomas Massey. Oh, God bless it. I came across him last year, and I was just like, oh my God, like, is he for real? Like, are there politicians like that out there that still exist? Are you kidding me? There really are genuinely, like, honest to God, downright righteous politicians out there trying to do the right thing by the people and the Constitution. Are you kidding me? Just, he's phenomenal. And of course, Rand Paul, I've always been a fan of Rand, but when people like Donald Trump have got the courts and the police and the military and a lot of the media now, you know, all the on his side, FBI, you know, when they're all on his side, and then you've just got these senators and that standing on their own, or these journalists and that standing on their own, we need to all stand together. We all need to be supporting them. We all need to be supporting each other, because we are a flicker of light. We are one match burning on our own, but if we all come together, we're a bushfire. We're an inferno. And then we're shining way brighter. And then we can burn their towers down with our truth and our justice and our laws. And that's how we all step out of the darkness together. So you need to be honest with yourself. If you're having doubts about people like Donald Trump, it's okay. If you made a mistake and you don't want to admit it, that's okay too. It's all part of the lesson. We've all had to start learning some horrendous, horrible lessons about our history, about our own families, about our own communities, about politicians that were supposed to be leading us in the right direction, and that we're learning some horrible things about these people, and it's painful. It's a lot to absorb. They have inflicted so much trauma on us as a global system. People would rather cut themselves than admit the fact that they're not happy, or that they were abused, or that they made a mistake, or it could even be that they did something as a child and the guilt carried over as a teen, and they don't know why they're cutting themselves, and then it goes back to that time that they, like, hurt an animal or something. But you got to be honest with yourself. It doesn't mean you have to talk about it. with anyone, but if there are people that you can talk to about it, don't go to these doctors, because the first thing they're going to do is shove medication down your throat because they don't care. They're all busy trying to find the cure for mental illness, and nobody's sitting down and just giving these people a hug and saying, let it out, child. Just let it out. We have emotions for a reason. They're our release valve. They tell us how we're feeling. We cry when we're happy too, remember? We cry when we're in love. We cry when we eat good food, when we hear beautiful music. We cry when we watch movies. So crying isn't a bad thing. You're mentally stronger if you're able to cry. The more you cry when you have some sort of emotion, the mentally stronger your mind is. It's people who don't cry that have a weaker mind. And they don't cry usually because of childhood trauma. They used to get smacked and stuff for crying as kids, which is why I stopped hitting my kids when they were little. They never, it wasn't like a constant thing like I used to get, but yeah, I learned very quickly by the time they were not even like at school age, that like 2, 3 years old, that they weren't gonna respond to it. By the time they were like 5, 6, there was just, they were putting themselves on the naughty step from a very young age. But that was learned behaviour from my mum, and I had to admit that. I started doing that. My boy Thomas had, and I think Gabriel did too. Like, we were looking at videos on their tablets and cameras and stuff, and there were some things in there. Even Chris had video of me. I can't remember if it was Gabriel's second birthday or third birthday, and I was so fat. I was so fat that I was talking like oh my god, the postie just put something through my thing, and I got completely distracted. Now I can't remember what I was saying, and I don't know if I'm able to go back and listen to what I was saying. Oh god, you get to talking, eh? Oh god, no, I'm trying to remember what I was saying. But yeah, go back to look at the things you don't want to look at, and the other thing is, you're going to remember things, and you're going to remember things that turn out to be not how you remembered them, or that they weren't even. One of the things that I found very, very interesting when I was studying the ascension process is how creative, empathic, high functioning geniuses have false memories. But it's not that they're lying, it's that they're remembering things that happened to other people and thinking it was them that went through it, because you're like a beacon, like you're as you're ascending, as your DNA is starting to change, and you're starting to grow more into the person that you're meant to be, and you're more honest with yourself, and and you do have to be brutally honest. You have to admit things to yourself. It doesn't have to be to anyone else, but you have to admit it to yourself. And the truth can be a hard pill to swallow, but it's the only way that you can purify yourself. It's the only way you're going to be able to release everything. It's burdens that were placed on you at a time when you should have just been left alone to be a kid. Through things you witnessed, through things you were, experienced and stuff like that. And when you don't get it out, it just bottles up, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And then the more you start trying to talk yourself out of what you're feeling, and then you'll start having like anxiety and fear and the jitters, and you'll get paranoid and all that sort of thing, and it's not healthy. So we as a people are witnessing the genocide of millions for no other reason than their ethnicity or their religion, and we're powerless to do anything because all the right people are on all the wrong sides. So we need to be supporting the ones who are doing the right thing, like Vladimir Putin and Thomas Massey and that, because for all the shit that are people, oh, but they're voting no for tax breaks on this and blah, blah, blah. But what about when you have to go to hospital? Or, God forbid, one of your kids gets sick or something like that. What are you going to do then? Like, you've got to be logical. You have to be logical about this, because what they're trying to vote in is going to have a detrimental effect on every single American in that country, whether they're there legally or not. And it's all going to affect them at one point or another. Everyone gets sick. Everyone has to go to hospital. Like, just from the Medicaid thing alone, you've got to be no tax on tips. I mean, so okay, are those tips gonna pay for your medical care when you've got to pay $1 gajillion to have a CT scan? It's one of the things you got to be grateful for being here in the NHS, with the hospital being free. I mean, they're absolutely shite. Not necessarily their fault, but I mean, look what they did to me. They have no clue how to treat those people in that hospital. Absolutely none whatsoever. Psychiatrists do not understand faith, religion, science, trauma. All they do is look for the medication that's going to stop what they're not wanting to see in you. Just having a drink. When you should be sitting down and having talks with people and just having people go back to the beginning with you to help you, do a step-by-step sort of thing, which is what my radio show's for. My talkback radio will be like Frasier. Oh God, I'll be like Girl Frasier, as long as I'm not Lilith. My 12th is my Black Moon's Lilith. My 12th is Lilith. So just for now, start going in on yourself. Take some time to just sit in the quiet and go back, and when you're on the right track, your body is going to let you know. It's going to you'll like sit up quick. You'll go, oh, or you might start getting nervous, or have palpitations and stuff. But just remind yourself that you're safe and everything's fine. It's a positive thing, because it's starting to point you in the right direction of what needs to be looked at. It pinpoints, because then, like, why am I scared? Am I scared, like, excited, or am I scared nervous, or am I afraid for my life? Like, allow yourself to figure it out. And every time you get the right answer, it's going to feel right. And when it feels right, you feel better. And then it's like the load starts lifting and the days become brighter and you seem happier and all that. Is because you're figuring stuff out. And that's what you need to do now, because you do not want to get to the point where later on that ascension's going to hit and you go through that trial by fire and you don't have the answers. But I had to go first, because Father needed me to figure it. He knew that I would have the mind that had to figure out what happened to me. and it's exactly what happened. And now I'm turning it into an empire. I mean, Vladimir's dragon, Lucian's dragon, I've renamed it, long story, not going into it right now, but that is tells the story of the ascension process, how every stage of your ascension, like you go through different trials and you learn different things from it, and that because I'm an ascension scientist now, so when I do my radio shows, you'll be able to ring in if it's talkback. Otherwise, on the screen, like we can live, you can ask questions and stuff, and we'll do like a live stream radio thing. So I'll see the screen while I'm on the radio, and I'll be able to answer your questions. But I really, 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 really want to do talkback, because the thing is that I'll be able to help you a lot better when I can hear your voice. I'll be able to pick up things because of the way that I'm a biorhythmic engineer. I'll be able to pick up things in your voice that will match frequencies in the ionosphere around me, and I'll be able to tell how I'm reacting to what you're saying, how to help you. It lets me get in. It lets me get in there, and once I get in there, once I get in your head, so to speak, then it's like I go around with my little toolbox. Or, I find the glitches in your binary code. I'm like a little programmer, and I go in, and then I always find the root cause. And this is going to sound horrible, but I use some of the girls in the hospital as my test subjects. So, and they, every single one of them agreed. Like, they were like, yeah, so many of them were able to go off medication, so many of them got released, and I got told I had a God complex because I was fixing everyone. But I mean, geez, it was like great research, like incredible research. I learned a lot. Like it helped me monumentally with quantum magnetics. But like I said, you got to be honest with yourself. And unfortunately, 9 times out of 10, so it seems, your trial is going to come when you are not necessarily living your best life, but starting to be your best version of you. I never thought in a million years that I'm coming on 10 years without having had sex with a man. Like that, like the commitment and everything, the loyalty, the dedication you put into it, because you don't want to ever, 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 ever go back there again. The pain that you feel on a psychological level is only matched by the pain you feel on an emotional level. You're literally thrown into pitch blackness out in the world and expected to find your way to the light switch with nobody telling you how big the room is, even, or whether there's drops or lava or anything like that. You've got to figure it out all on your own. But I tell you one thing, when you do figure it out, you'll be so glad you did. But the thing is, when you do hit rock bottom, unlike me, you will have all the answers. So you'll know how to get yourself out of it, whereas I didn't. I had to figure it out all on my own. And you're going to feel like that until you find me. There'll be people out there that'll, I could have the show going for 5 years and no one on one side of the world will even know who I am. And one day, someone going through hell is going to turn on my radio show, and it's going to be like, where have you been all my life? Sort of thing. So everyone will catch up when they're meant to. And once enough of us have caught up, or when we've all caught up, like, all the popcorn popping in a pot, then we're like a big beaming light, and then we can go out there and actually match the people that the few are being forced to fight on their own. Vladdy's fine, he's got me. He's got all the protection in the world, but I mean, I can't look after all of them. I can't look after all of them. It's exhausting enough as it is. Vladdy is 50 people on his own. and my loyalty is to him. So I need help with people who need that kind of support out there. And the only way I can do that is by healing those that are destined to have ascensions as well. Just listen to everything I'm saying and put everything I say into practice, and I promise you, it doesn't matter how bad your life is now. Once that little flicker of light comes on inside of you, you'll be unstoppable. And I'm not going to lie, it's going to take a couple of years. It's going to take anywhere between 5 and 7 years. But just remember, keep following my voice, keep following what I'm saying. You will come out the other side, I promise you. It all just depends on how much karmic debt you've paid off. And bearing in mind, if you've not really been, that much of if you've had like a pretty good life and stuff like that, then the karmic debt that you're paying off might not even be yours. It might be your ancestors, it might be your granddads and your aunties and your great grandfathers and your great great grandfathers, and that. It just depends. But if it turns out that you are here to pay off ancestral debt, I had to do both. I had way more ancestral debt to pay off than I had my own, I can promise you that. Then it means you've been chosen, and that's what it means to be a chosen one. It's when your ancestors choose you to be the one to pay off their karmic debt, because they know that you're the one that's going to be strong enough to help them do it. And then once you do that, they get to cross over, because they're all stuck in purgatory, some of them. Or if they're part of the Council of Elders, they're the ones that organise who's going to be your animal totems and look after you when you have your sleep paralysis demons and all of that. So you might be there paying off ancestral debt. And if that's the case, it means you've been chosen, and it means you're special. And in which case you weren't made to blend in, you were made to stand out, because your voice has to be heard. Your art has to be seen. Your food has to be tasted. Your books have to be read. Your dances need to be seen on stage. You need to be writing the symphony. You need to be recording that album. You need to be making that movie or that video game, or you need to be in the video game. Because whatever it is that you're going to bring to the world, once you're ready to step up into the world, it's going to have an influence on other people. And if you want good things to happen to you, you have to put good out into the world. And if you're putting stuff out there into the world that's making other people feel good and they're inspired by you, that means you've been given a monumental responsibility to look after the souls of every single person that then looks up to you or has your back. Because loyalty's everything. And, matches lit on their own is fine, but loyalty, coming together and burning bright together, that requires loyalty. It takes commitment and dedication and loyalty and fidelity in that, even to come together for a common cause, to get the job done in order to serve God and our ancestors, or Allah, or Shiva or Ganesh, whoever you believe in. So be honest with yourself and be honest with the people around you. What you're going to go through is going to be 1,000 times worse than anything you deserve, but there will always be a reason for it, and it will be something that was triggered when you were younger or ancestral, like I said. But you're the one that has to find out, and when you go on that journey, you'll discover things about yourself and about your family that ends up making a whole lot of sense, or lays a lot of things to rest, or heals a lot of childhood wounds and traumas. And then you can hold your head up high when you come out that tunnel at the other end, knowing you did the work yourself, and you didn't need a doctor, and you didn't need prescriptions, and you didn't need Teresa Caputo, and you didn't need Ghost Adventure Rose. You didn't need drugs, you didn't need alcohol, you did it all yourself. And that's the real reward that comes out of it. And then because you've mastered all of that, then that's when the blessings come in. So I went first to find the answers, and I'm laying the breadcrumbs down, and now you can follow the breadcrumbs. And then, when I get to Moscow, I will set up I want to get a house, or like have a bit in the castle that I buy to turn into my foundation, and that set up like a little radio station thing. You can do it all over the internet and stuff now. So, and then I'll get like a microphone, and I'll pay someone to like do editing and all of that, and then we'll get the show on the road, and then I'll put it out so it's on the internet, and then it's like worldwide. And then I'll have like room monitors and that, because I'm not going to know how to figure out all that stuff. All I want to be able to do is sit down and talk and answer people's questions, and let everybody else do it, because I can't do technology to save myself. So I'm sorry I lost my train of thought there, but the postie delivered something through my thing, and I lost my train of thought, because when you hear the door going and you live by yourself, you always think, So yeah, so just don't be afraid, even when you think you're never ever going to get out of it, even when you think you're never going to heal, the wounds are never going to heal, blah, blah, blah. Skin does heal. There's so many things you can do now, because I know that was the problem with one of the girls. She was worried because they were saying that, she's cut herself so many times, and for so many years, that she just keeps cutting old scars, and so the scars are never healing. She's never going to heal. But there's things you can do that would help. It would just be expensive, but the thing is, the NHS, when they should be helping people like her get her confidence back, they're spending all their money on fat people who won't put down a cake. And then they get free cars. And then people like me, who have got this actual science that's saving lives, and will save a lot of lives once I'm able to get it out there. Like, I'm having to count my pennies and prove that I'm here legally every month just to count those pennies. But that's part of my trial. And the thing is, I haven't regretted it. I call it my college years. I'm living like I would if I was at university. It's fabulous. I don't regret any of it. So, for better or worse, you were chosen. You were chosen for a reason. You were chosen because it was decided you were the one in the family that was strong enough to deal with it. And because the thing is, I've been able to help my sister, and my sister and I have bonded unbelievably over what happened to me, because similar things happened to her. Like, she went through hell as well. We carried a lot of karmic debt for our mother, who was the one that used to hit us. Erin didn't. I did when they were little, but I'm not talking like 15 times a day. They probably got smacked like, I don't know, 4 times a year. Like, I don't know. It wasn't a lot, but it's not anything that I'm proud of. And it stopped when there was no point. It wasn't doing anything. And then I used to go and cry anyway, and I used to say to Chris. And so we decided, I said, like, what should we do? And he goes, we'll try an alternative. And I was saying, well, so that's when we came up with the idea of taking things from them. And then if it was bad enough, like when Thomas tried to literally pick his brother's eyeball out of his head, naughty step. So I paid off a lot of karmic debt for my mother, for my grandmother. You pay off the debt for the people who did things wrong, or the people who didn't do anything when things were done wrong. Whether that's for themselves or anybody else, you're expected to pay it all off, and it's a lot. And I promise you, like, you're going to end up with, nothing but God will always, always provide for you. Even if you're down to your last before you get paid, or whatever, even if you've had to go like 2 days without food, there's going to be something waiting for you to help you through every single time. Bare minimum, just enough, just getting you through the day. Getting through each day is all you have to do while you sit and think and let it all out. Learn about yourself. And my radio show is going to help you do that. So anyway, I'm going to go and get myself a drink. I'm really sorry about the distraction as well. That was so embarrassing. But see, this is why I need a place of my own, because I need to be able to have like a recording studio in my house. I'm hoping to have like a little shed, like a summer house thing at the back of my place, wherever I'm living. And then I can go in and record my shows and do my voices and that for my cartoons and all that sort of thing. And there's no distractions because it'll be all soundproof. I need soundproof, and where I am is not soundproof. I mean, it's quiet, but it's not soundproof. The plane, for example, that was one distraction, and then the poster. It's not their fault, but it is what it is. So now you know what to do. Start doing it, and by the time I get my radio show up and running, then you can contact me and tell me your story, and I can help you. I'm a problem solver. I'm a Scorpio as well, so I love getting really deep in there to get to the root cause of things. I'm like a dentist. You scrape out all the decay, but you're gonna feel so much better once I help you figure stuff out. And then you can help people figure it out, and they'll help people figure it out. And then there'll be no more paranormal stuff, because I'll help you deal with all of that too, because I'll have my products. And then I'll have my haunted house where you can come and have classes and stuff too. And I'll have like my paranormal hour where you'll be able to ring up and say, ghost this or demon that, or, whatever, and then I'll be able to help you. So, yeah, so get ready. I'm really hoping, I really would like a co-host. Maybe, I don't know about, for the Ascension show, but definitely for the paranormal one, paranormal, unexplained, paranormal, supernatural, because remember, there is a difference between the paranormal and the supernatural. The paranormal is psychological and societal. The supernatural is theological and science, physics. So they're two very different things, but again, that's why I'm here. So just let me get my justice, which was part of the hell I went through. Let me get my justice, let me get my money, and excuse me, get myself to Moscow, become a Muscovite if I'm allowed. I still don't know if I'm allowed yet. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm allowed. I've pretty much threatened him with a coup if he doesn't let me in. So it's like a coup, but with a oop. Coup. I'm going to stage a coup outside the border. Let me in, Lenny. All right, guys, I'm going to go now. So, yeah, I'll speak to you later. Ka kite anō. Mwah.